So as a parent, how would I be able to tell if my child had been sexually abused?
Well, I think we touched on a lot of this in our general trauma chat a couple of weeks ago, but we're looking for changes in behaviour, I guess, predominantly. And again, you as the parent are the expert on your child, and if you're tuned in, you will notice changes. And again, those changes will be different depending on the age and developmental stage of your child. So often what we can see in children that are younger is what we call regressive behaviours, where you might have a 4 or 5 year old who was perfectly toilet trained and they start wetting or soiling during the day. That can be a sign. I mean, that can be a sign for lots of things, but we do see that with, certainly I see that with a number of my clients, that they do have those difficulties. I think another big one that can be a telltale sign is a child suddenly having quite sexualised behaviour, and that is acting in a way or having knowledge that would be really not fitting for their age and stage of development. I think, again, younger children may become more clingy, maybe sensitive around bath time or around anything that involves touch or their private parts. They might become clingy if they need to go somewhere to a particular place or with a particular person. And
it's a hard one though, isn't it? Because as you said, it can be that can also be the sign of my dog dying. You know, that I'm distressed and I've got some big feelings and I don't know what to do with them. Or it could be a sign that actually mum's not too happy. So others might notice changes. So I think the good news is there can be some signs. The not so good news is sometimes you won't know. So you can be as tuned in as you like to your child, and in fact some things can happen that you as the parent might not know about, and that doesn't mean you're a bad parent. And that's really important to know, that the thing about sexualised harm is that it happens in private. And people tend to lie about it. You know, people who are doing the harm lie about it because they don't want anyone to know, and they tend to access young people through relationship, and the people being groomed aren't just the child, it's the family system around the child. So there can be a whole lot of smoke and mirrors around this kind of stuff, and young people tend to lie about it, or not lie about it, but let's say it's not lying, but don't want to talk about it because they don't understand that this was harmful. The person doing it to them might be someone they love. You know, they might actually like aspects of it, because if there's someone who doesn't get a lot of attention or have some neglect, then actually the attention that's given through this behaviour, apart from that yucky bit, might actually be quite nice. It's also full of shame and embarrassment, and we might not even have the words to talk about it. So I think that, you know, often when people come in to see our service, there'll be parents going, we just never knew and they never told us. And there can be lots of distress, as you can imagine, and concern as to how did we miss it. And I think that a really important thing to hear is you might miss it, but if you're paying attention to your child and you're seeing them being distressed or seeing changes in behaviour, just be in relationship with them. You know, you're talking with them, you're checking it out. You're not stalking them, which can be tempting, but you're just kind of laying those seeds. And you know, for some people who might be concerned, you might check out, you know, hey, you know, if anything did happen that you're unsettled about, then you can talk to me, but you can also talk to, you know, some other people in our world and help the young person work out who might be safe people for them. Because there's a lot of people walking around who've been sexually harmed who no one has ever known. And there's some research in New Zealand that says it takes about 16 years for people to tell on average. So that's a lot of people who might tell straight away, and a lot of people who might never tell.
So if it's 16 years, then we're likely not children anymore.
Yes.
And we wouldn't be working with them. So the reality is that most children don't disclose.
So some pretty clear messaging there that it's, as a parent, not, you know, don't do nothing.
Yes. Check it out. Check if you see change, if you're feeling like, you know, often parents, when they now know, they go, if I track back, I can see that there was a bit of a change. But in the busyness of lives, we often put that down to, they had a fight with their friend at school.
Yes.
Or yes, they didn't want to have that sleepover, but actually they've never really been someone who likes sleepovers. So, again, this isn't to beat ourselves up as parents, which of course we will do, but it is to say, be curious, be in relationship with your kids, and just step back. And if you've got a funny feeling, don't ignore it. Check it out.
And I think that was really, really important, that point that you said before, Catherine, about. What was that point that you said? Now I've forgotten.
I make lots of important points, Sam.
No, that idea that we send that message to our kids, and this is all about having open lines of communication, that nothing is too terrible to talk to me about. Because, of course, Catherine was talking about that shame and that guilt, and I did something wrong, and I'm going to get into trouble. That there's, if we can send that message that, no, there's nothing that you can tell me that will stop me loving you.
Yeah,
and
that we can't get through.
And I'm here. And we can do this together.
Yeah, and so sometimes what we notice is that things like keeping yourself safe programs at school, or watching something on television, if you are curious, those can be opportunities to sort of, that's where disclosures can happen. Or if if you're watching a program, to say, if you were ever worried about that stuff, that we just need to find someone for you to talk to. But and it might be me, but it might not be me. Because for a lot of kids, they go, I don't want to tell mum and upset her, or I don't want to tell dad because he'll get angry. And that might actually be what happens, not in an inappropriate way, but as parents we do get upset about this information. But kids can be scared that they're the cause of that. So it doesn't mean as a parent don't have your natural normal emotion, but it just means that be aware there's probably a wee scared kid there who's thinking this is their fault.